Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scan. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. It was a terrible week for Kansas City Chiefs fans, but we at the Warning Track Power Hour will soldier on. We'll be talking this week about last week in the NFL, Week 15, and the Chiefs being eliminated from the playoffs. Mahomes' season-ending injury. We'll talk about our locks of the week and our big board bets, which were also awful this week. Uh, we'll talk a little bit about the college football playoff, when we go hopeful segment here, and some little Royals offseason news. Then we'll talk about week 16 in the NFL today, too. We'll kick off today where we've been starting every show during the NFL season. The Kansas City Chiefs and their recent loss to the not the San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers.
You sound like me. I
Still
told
making
you.
this mistake years later. And during this game, uh, yeah, Patrick Mahomes ended up tearing his ACL and LCL, out for the season, 9-month recovery time. Mike, are you okay with being done with having to care about the Chiefs this year? Is that how
Well,
you're trying to look at this now, or is
I
this
guess I'll still care about the Chiefs and how they do. I want to see some of the young players progress. I think this is one of those things where I think the Chiefs are probably going to need to retool quite a bit over the offseason because I think this was the year that they're I think just trying to stretch their previous roster again another year. I wouldn't be surprised now. I guess maybe Kelsey's going to stick around one more year to see what he can do with Mahomes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he retires. I wouldn't be surprised if even Chris Jones or something like that might be gone next year. Maybe trading him. This is the first going to be the first time the Chiefs will have a draft pick that's at least middle of the first round to the beginning of the first round since the Mahomes pick, once they actually traded up for in 2017 to get number 10. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs lost all their games going forward, even to Tennessee and the Raiders. I don't know. I think Mahomes was kind of holding the team together with, his magic. I think like we've been talking a long time about how we think Matt Nagy is not the answer, and I think the Chiefs' offense has grown stale. I think other teams know how to defend it now. It just really relied a lot upon Mahomes doing crazy things when plays broke down. And now without him, you have Gardner Minshew, who kind of does the same thing sometimes.
yeah?
Uh, of course, his limited action got the Chiefs eliminated from the playoffs because he threw like three passes and one of them got intercepted. That was the end. The Chiefs technically would still be in the playoff race if they had won the game, which they still could have won the game after Mahomes went down, even because because he was leading the team down the field to a potential game-tying field goal or a game-winning touchdown, or I think with Mahomes, if he had been healthy, that would have happened. But maybe this is a blessing in disguise because I think the Chiefs would have been eliminated from the playoffs at some point um, going forward. But maybe it's best to be eliminated now and have Mahomes rest up. Even though it is an injury to him, maybe he'll
Yeah.
be back better next year, and some things will change. He was getting. I guess it's better that he got injured now than in a couple of games later in the season, because maybe he can be ready by the beginning of the regular season next year, or it'll be. I think it'll be cutting it close either way. Um,
Hmm.
but it's yeah, it's sad. That was a really sad thing that happened. This is Mahomes. He's had some injuries during his career, but then nothing has really knocked him out for long extended periods of time. He had the dislocated knee that knocked him out for a few games back in 2020 or 2019. I can't remember which season that was
Yeah,
now.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was really bad to watch. And because it was about the end of the game and it ended Mahomes. in kind of negative ways and ended the Chiefs season in a negative way, really. At least the um part where they can make the playoffs. Now it's just we're just watching. It's kind of like watching the Royals finish out the season when they're not going to be in playoff contention. It's been a long time since it's been like that for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Well, and that means they're also going to they won't have to play a first place schedule next season too. Maybe that's a sort of hidden benefit there
Yeah,
as
I think they're
well.
pretty much stuck with a third place. I don't think the Raiders can catch
Yeah.
the Chiefs, but I think they're getting a third place schedule, which will be helpful, I think. And although um, third place in the, I guess some of the, sometimes things change so much in the NFL. Sometimes maybe being third rather than first is a bad thing. But I think you see how like the Patriots have benefited from an easy schedule this year.
Yeah, I
Some
mean, usually the easy
other
schedule
team
part is more about their division though too,
division
right?
also helps
Yeah.
there, but there's also the in the other division that you would play, whichever one it ends up being. Um,
Yeah.
so they didn't. I can't remember I guess the New England's playing the AFC South this year rather than the AFC West or the AFC North. I don't remember which one they are, but
Yeah.
the Chiefs are playing the South. So I guess the AFC East is playing the AFC North, which is in a down year for the AFC North. There aren't really any great teams this year. Baltimore's down. Pittsburgh's just kind of blah. Um, Cleveland is down. So is Cincinnati.
Well,
Uh,
Burrow was out for most of the
yes,
season.
extended
Yeah.
season. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then I can't remember. I think it was the NFC South that the New England was also playing against. Right? They were playing against Tampa and Carolina,
Yeah.
New Orleans, and Atlanta. So that was a bad division too. So they got
Yeah. Well,
uh,
that is the division matchup they get. They play everybody in those divisions, don't they? In
yeah.
those, but the for the third place schedule, first place schedule is more about the teams they play in the other division, where they only play like the one or two. If you're a first place team, you play only the one or two in the other divisions that you don't
Mhm.
play the full division, right?
Yeah, you play the first team and so you play it's they the way it goes is so the Chiefs will play um three third place teams in or I guess they'll play two third place teams in the AFC because they play the whole division. They'll play another whole division, I guess, which will also include a third place team, but it'll be the first through the fourth place teams in those divisions.
Right,
And then they'll
right.
also play a
Their
full
own
division
division.
in the NFC and
Yeah,
also a single third place team in the NFC to make that 17th game.
yeah,
So that'll be another third. So then the Chiefs have been playing an extra first place team in the NFC usually the last several years now with the 17th game because that's where they played the Eagles again. Um, or no, it wasn't the Eagles. I guess it would have been Detroit. That's why they played Detroit this year. They played the
yeah.
Eagles because they played the NFC East.
Well, that
But
was why they kept getting the Bills on their schedule like every season,
yes,
right?
his
And
first
why
place.
they got New England every season during the Brady times, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be nice to um, get a little bit of a break, at least three or four games, because three or four games can be um, pretty meaningful in terms of the way schedules work out. So, and you hope
yeah,
maybe those are games that are maybe early in the season, maybe if Mahomes is not quite back to health yet, but I still think the Chiefs probably need to redo. I don't know. They need to a rebuild. I think at this point, the defense I think is still solid, but I think there's some long in the tooth players like and expensive players. Maybe more. It's that the cap is going to catch up to them at some point, and they need younger, less expensive players. Just the way the salary cap works. So. Um,
think I saw earlier today that they're already like, considerably over what next year's cap is right now if they don't restructure or anything, right? Which they always restructure. So it's kind of meaningless to worry too much about it, I think, right now. But they're already, you know, 20, 30 something, 40 million over, I think, what the cap is for
yeah,
next season. Yeah. Or their current. uh, contracts that they have that are, carry over to next season. Did you find it odd though too that the Mahomes injury comes in his ninth season, which is the same season that Tom Brady had his knee injury in his
Yeah,
career. So
Tom
it's
Brady.
easy to draw comparisons to what you might see as a possible future out of Mahomes post injury.
Well, let's hope that happens.
Yeah,
Brady was actually injured by a Chief. I think it was Bernard Pollard who hit
right.
um, Brady in the knee. It was, I guess it would have been the ultimate irony if it had been a Patriot that had injured
Right.
um, Mr. Mahomes. But yeah, it was a game though. We had talked before we went on the air. This was a game that the Chargers were a little bit, I thought, and thought this as well, probably playing a bit dirty in terms of hitting defenseless receivers and things like that. One was finally called later in the game, but it seemed like there were multiple times that could have penalties on the Chargers could have been called earlier in the games. I think the Chiefs were victims of some penalty calls as well. So it was a close game, but the Chiefs, they've been winning those close games in
Yeah.
previous seasons, but not this season when the calls aren't going their way. So I guess it
That
just shows
catch
how,
not catch thing too, right?
yeah, yeah,
Was another odd
the
one.
long pass that I can't remember which Chargers receiver was said to have caught the ball, even though it hit the ground. And it seemed like it
Well,
moved too. It didn't just hit the ground with like control, like they say. If it touches the ground, that's okay, but if it moves, that's usually the problem. But this time, it wasn't enough of a problem, I guess, for the call to get overturned. It was just a
nonsense.
um, yeah, there was a lot of that I thought this past game, but I think in some ways I think it's better maybe though for the Chiefs not to be to be able to get a rest. They've been over the last few seasons they've played a full extra season compared to most of their counterparts in the league. So it's I think getting a little bit of rest is probably a longer off season. Maybe again retooling the coaching staff, retooling some of the skill position groups, maybe the defense a little bit. Um, this is
Offensive line, maybe again.
yeah, it seems like though
Maybe get
the
another
backup
guy.
tackle, like the Chiefs are down to you can't really say well, you have Simmons is going to be back and
Yeah,
be good, and maybe like Esapole was going to be okay for the as a right tackle. Maybe we get rid of Juwan Taylor. He's going to be more expensive.
yeah,
Um, Trey Smith's going to be back. Caliendo won't be there. So it seems like the line might be the least of the problems right now. Even
yeah,
right now, but they're playing their like fifth string tackle because Wani Morris was hurt. They were down to like their I'd say sixth or maybe sixth tackle on the depth chart if you include both
yeah,
with Chu Godric playing. Um, he wasn't he the international
yeah.
exemption player that the Chiefs had on their roster for a long time?
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was yeah. Mahomes was though he was harried and hassled all game as usual. He just couldn't quite. I don't know. He threw that interception in the towards the and, towards the zone towards the end zone again. Uh,
That was
but
on the play he got injured,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't I mean, it was surprising that it was intercepted. It wasn't an easy catch.
Oh,
Um,
that wasn't the play he got injured on the Mahomes. It was the he threw that interception earlier in the.
oh, the earlier one.
He only threw one this game.
No, no,
Minshew threw the second interception a couple plays after
no,
Mahomes was hurt. So Minshew
no.
threw an interception and Mahomes threw one. Um, but yeah, the one that Mahomes was trying to throw it to Kareem Hunt down, who ran like a wheel route down the
Mm,
sideline and got intercepted about the 3 yard line by one of at the 1 yard line, I think, by the Chargers. So, but
yeah.
anyway, it wasn't a great game. Uh, you, although, came out on top in this game because of your first bet of the week. Do you feel good about your lock of the week being a Chiefs loss plus Chargers win plus Mahomes injury plus? Chiefs elimination from the playoffs. But you came out on top this game with your lock of the week. So is it bittersweet at the best probably at this point?
At best, I guess. Yeah. No, I don't feel good about it at all, Mike. I don't know. I like being able to get a pick here or there, but yeah, I don't like it getting it in this fashion though. Especially when it's sort of the Costanza's type pick.
Yeah. You were
Picking
two and
against
one.
what I think is going to happen just to, you know, maybe get a pick right. That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were 2 and 1 this week, so but you picked the Chargers with their plus 4.5, something like that.
Chargers were, yeah, plus 4.5. Yeah.
At least I think they went up all the way to +6 at one point, but it was plus 4.5 when you made the pick, and they won outright by three. So
It was plus 6 on the final.
yeah, the big board. The less said about the big board, the better. I think this week was we each lost more than fifteen hundred
Big
dollars.
money.
I think,
Big
right?
fake money, Mike.
Yeah, we each lost a bunch of money on the big board. We won't talk too much about that. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, hideous week.
yeah, I lost. I lost $1,350. You lost about $1,820. So,
Ugh.
uh, yeah, we ended up each getting less than 40. Yeah, we it was really terrible. But anyway, let's talk about our locks of the week. My locks of the week were just as bad as ever. I had been on a good streak the past several weeks, but I ended that good streak with an 0-3 week. Unless we want to talk more about the Chiefs, I don't think we do.
We
Um,
don't.
my first loss of the week, I guess, was the that I made. Well, you can pick a number of the game. Let's start. Let's start. I guess I'll pick the one I made. The pick I made first, even though it came uh, on the Sunday night game. It came last. That
Yeah.
was I picked Dallas as 5.5 point home favorites over the Minnesota Vikings. I thought they would win, especially so JJ McCarthy not playing very well, and Dallas kind of needing to win for the playoffs. I thought again at home they'd be playing well. They're at least going to win this game, and so they'll probably if they win, they'll probably win by a touchdown. No, they lost that game uh, to Minnesota 34-26. So they're 5.5 point favorites. They lost outright by 8 points. So that was my first loss of the week. Do you want to go through your first loss of the week and before you get back to your second win, Dr. Scaff?
Yeah, I had Seattle minus 13.5 versus Indy. This is one of the easier picks of the week. Seemed like on paper, Seattle's rolling, scoring lots of points, giving up hardly any points, facing an Indy team that's basically collapsed as after Daniel Rogers went down. So they turned to Philip Rivers, who we didn't know was going to start the game at the time we made our picks. But we knew he'd been signed to the practice squad. Mike, did you actually think he would start the game, let alone make an appearance?
I didn't think he'd start week one. I thought maybe he would start a week or two after he had kind of gotten
Yeah,
acclimated again. But I guess losing Daniel Jones and then seeing the alternatives to Daniel Jones did not really inspire Colts brass because Anthony Richardson's still injured, so they couldn't turn to him. So it was Riley, what's his name?
Leonard,
Riley
Leonard,
Leonard. Yeah.
who was
Uh,
also injured, I think, in the last
injured.
game.
Yeah. So it's either Brett Rippon or I guess Philip Rivers. So we're
Philip
gonna go with Philip
Rivers, yeah,
Rivers, 44 years old.
and a
Uh,
grandfather,
is he a grandfather? I knew he had 10 kids. I didn't
apparently.
know he was already a grandfather. Uh,
Yeah. But yeah, the game ended up being very close though. So yeah, the Chargers actually
19-16
not the Chargers.
loss for the
The
Colts.
Indy had the lead late, and Seattle had to kick a very late field goal to take the lead. Uh, Seattle ended up winning the game, but not coming close to covering the spread. As 18-16 was the final. Uh, that seemed like an easy pick there, Mike. But yeah, it was a struggle throughout the game for Seattle, and they did win, but not anywhere close to covering. So a loss for me on the week. Hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of losses, I have maybe I'll do my two losses quickly, then we'll go to your win so we can finish on a winning note. We were 2-4 on the
Okay.
week together. I was 0-3, you were 2-1. Um, Both teams that I thought, well, I had Cincinnati as plus 2.5 point home underdogs to Baltimore. I thought Cincinnati would actually not only be like they did a couple weeks ago, would not only cover that spread, but would win outright at home. They were shut out at home, 24-0 by the Ravens. So that was a bust of a pick. And then I also picked Carolina on the road as 2.5 point road favorites over New Orleans, and they lost that game by three, 20-17, I believe, was the final. So not only did those picks were all my picks wrong, the other team won every one of those games that I picked. And I guess one of them was a I could have, could still have won. I guess if Cincinnati only lost by 1 or 2 points, but um, still, the other team won all three of the games that I picked in my locks of the week. So those were the broken locks of the week. And but you did fortunately save the day a bit for us together by winning by winning 2 out of 3. What was your second win of the week, Dr. Scaff?
The second win was in the Houston Arizona game. I had Houston at -9.5. Houston put up a lot of points early in this one. They had 17 in the first quarter. Houston ended up winning 40-20, so doubling up the spread for a relatively easy win there, Mike, which is something that I haven't gotten to say in quite a while. Yeah, not a
Yeah,
lot of wins this season for my locks of the week. So, uh, but yeah, as you mentioned, 2-1 this week, which means I'm only one pick behind you in wins in the season. You do have that push that you had earlier this year, so you have a slight buffer. You've got a You're down $600 on the year. I'm down $900 on the year. So I still have some work to do to try to catch up with not many weeks to go here. So
only 3 more weeks to play. Um, we're at week 16. I'm going to be in week 16 now.
yep.
Before we talk about week 16, um, we'll talk about some other football and some baseball. But is there anything else in week 15 we want to go over? Uh, I guess it's some
Maybe just
interesting.
I was going to make one note on the big board though, Mike. Just very surprisingly how odd this NFL season has gotten anyway. That you and I agreed on 8 picks on the spreads this week, and together we were wrong on 7 of the 8. So
Yes.
that's me. I guess I think that just means that like the league is, at least in this week, is extremely unpredictable at best, especially on spreads, which we were terrible on spreads this week between us individually or separately.
Hmm.
Just a bad week for
A bad,
picks.
bad week.
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to mention anyway. So
Yeah, there were some big games, some games that were we didn't mention Micah Parsons went going down with another in Green Bay with another ACL tear, which is could be also very harmful to Green Bay's Super Bowl aspirations. But Green Bay lost to Denver. Denver is now the number one seed in the AFC because of New England's loss to Buffalo. I think Denver's won, I think 11 straight games. They're 12-2 now,
yeah,
um, and that's the best record in the NFL. Uh, and on the other side, the Rams are now the number one seed again in the NFC, and are also, I think those are the only two teams that have clinched playoff spots so far. So we'll see how that. Well, so it seems like there's maybe less of a race for the playoffs this year than the lottery because it seems like teams have separated themselves. There's a couple maybe divisions up for grabs, but the wild card spots seem to be pretty solidly claimed, at least in in the AFC and the NFC right now.
and maybe
Um,
the order may flip around, but it's pretty much there's not a lot of teams like in the hunt, right? It's mostly they're sort of there or not there.
yeah. The NFC, yeah, because yeah, each the wild card team is at least the wild card team that's the eighth seed is at least one, yeah, they're one game at least off
Full
from
game bag.
full game back. Yeah, they're 1.5 games back in um the NFC, with the Lions being 8-6 and the 7 seed Packers being 9-4-1. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think they're also and the Colts are 8-6 and the Texans are 9-5, but I think the Texans also have tiebreaker over the Colts this year, at least maybe the way it's working out right now, they will. Um,
Hmm.
so that's another maybe race that's not quite as close. It's the you have the Steelers and the Ravens still battling for the division, and we have the Buccaneers and Panthers battling for the NFC South division. Those are kind of the only real playoff races we have right now, other than
Yeah.
jostling seeds.
Well, in both Tampa and Carolina took losses this week, so they're not. Neither one of them took control of their race by any means.
No, and they play each other next week, which is we will have a preview of that somewhat when we talk about our bets of the week going forward. Um, but that's enough NFL probably for now. Should we switch over to college football, or would you want to talk baseball first?
Sure. Let's do how about college football first?
All right. We have the we have the NCAA Division One college football playoffs coming up. We have for the top four seeds in the have byes this weekend. Indiana number one, Ohio State number two, Georgia number three, Texas Tech number four. You all have byes, but teams 5 through 12 are playing beginning. I think Thursday. Is that
Friday.
Friday? Friday and Saturday games.
Yeah,
Uh,
Friday evening and then 3 games in a row on Saturday.
yeah.
And no overlapping, so we'll know the results before we, as viewers at least, going into the next game then.
So yeah, we have since we're so good at making these predictions and bets, we are in the NFL. We're also
In the
uh,
in the
ex
NFL that we watch a lot of games.
we are expanding our reach into the college world. We've each made a bet on or two bets on the teams that we think will win the national championship. And we also made bets on the spreads of the individual games going forward. The 4 games are going to be Alabama versus Oklahoma, 9 versus 8, 10 Miami, Florida versus Texas A&M, number 7, 11 Tulane versus 6 Ole Miss, and 12 James Madison against 5 Oregon. The Ole Miss, Tulane, James Madison, Oregon games are predicted to be blowouts if you follow the odds makers. The other games are probably going to be a lot closer, featuring traditional powerhouses. Um, but we each made picks for those games. Do you think any of the teams playing this weekend has a chance of the national title, or will the champion come from the top four seeds, do you think, Dr. Scaff? Last year, all four seeds actually lost their first games and the teams that won the opening round also won in round two. So maybe playing a week is better than having a bye, but that may also just be a little blip on the radar.
Rust over rest, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, was the deciding factor last year. I don't think it's going to be quite the same this year. I can't imagine that it'll be the extreme that it was last year, where all four teams win. Maybe one or two will win, but not all four teams that play the extra week. But yeah, I mean, there's some good games on this schedule, though. I mean, you don't usually expect to see, like an Alabama Oklahoma kind of game, although they're in the same
Conference now.
conference again.
And they've played already this year. Alabama
Yeah,
actually lost to Oklahoma, but Alabama is
yeah.
actually favored by 1.5 points at Oklahoma in the playoffs this year. But I think Yeah, I tend to think that probably one of the top four seeds is going to win it. My dark horse sort of pick, I think, is actually number four, Texas Tech. I think they might be the best team this year. They haven't played a lot of teams, but the teams they've played, like BYU, a pretty good team, they really uh, destroyed BYU two games in a row. Uh, and I think maybe Indiana is hard to say how good Indiana is. I think they played the Big Ten, which has been a pretty good conference, but I think it's sort of been down this year. Michigan's kind of had a down year. Michigan's also gone through some controversy with its recent firing of his coach and his arrest and all these things. It seems a little bit like Penn State, which also has had a really down year this past year. Um, but
They're getting a really good head coach though, Mike,
yeah,
from Matt Campbell from Iowa
Matt
State.
Campbell from Iowa State, the new Penn
Tough
State
to see
coach.
him go after he had a great Iowa State career.
Yeah. So I'll be happy. Penn State will be happy to have him, I think. Uh,
Yeah,
but maybe Penn State will bounce back next year and get in the playoffs. They were in the semifinal. They were semifinalists last year, losing very closely to Notre Dame, who actually played in the finals against Ohio State last year. But yeah, there was no. So it's hard to say how good Indiana is. I think Ohio State's not quite as good as they were last year either. Uh,
yeah.
uh, Ohio State is the number two seed. Indiana's number one seed, although in terms of the odds, Indiana is the second favorite. Ohio State is the first favorite to win. We each put $100 on the money line for two of the teams in the playoffs. Uh, as I said, I picked Texas Tech as my kind of dark horse, and I also picked Indiana as my second pick. Uh, Dr. Scaff, who are your two picks going forward?
I did the safety pick first with Ohio State, just taking the overall favorite for the futures sort of champion pick. And then I went kind of on a more of an outlier for my second pick, assuming that Lane Kiffin actually is maybe worse. Uh, maybe it's better for Ole Miss to be without Lane Kiffin making decisions for the team. So I'm going to pick Ole Miss as my second pick. A little bit of a longer shot at it's a plus 2,500. It's gonna be a nice payoff if Ole Miss ends up running the table.
Yeah, Ohio State is plus 215, Indiana plus 280, Texas Tech plus 800, yeah, Ole Miss plus 2,500. That would be really funny if Ole Miss did win the championship with an interim coach and
Right.
yeah, no Lane Kiffin who led them that far. But yeah, they
I'm not
essentially
I'm not a, I'm not a fan of Lane Kiffin, so I think the only thing that he's that he's going to do is leave at some point, right?
mhm,
Yeah. And he has before the season is over, which is not surprising given his history.
yeah. So well, that's the college football playoff. We'll see how those games uh, turn out. We'll talk about that more next week, and then we'll have the quarterfinals next week with the top four teams in action as well.
So yeah, we'll
Uh,
we'll check in on our long shot picks, and we'll be making new picks again next week for the individual games and the spreads. Continue our competition that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so we'll leave football briefly. Should we talk Royals baseball very shortly, Dr. Scaff? How are the Royals doing this offseason? I think you actually think the Royals made a good trade for once this time. A shrewd move by the front office, which you seem to think has been lacking in shrewdness uh, much of the past several years.
Yeah, a move that
Trade.
wasn't involving a utility player this time as well. That's maybe the most surprising thing. It wasn't a utility player that was acquired. But the Royals did make a trade with Milwaukee, where they traded kind of workhorse lefty reliever Angel Zerpa to Milwaukee for outfielder Isaac Collins, who finished fourth in the Rookie of the Year race. As an outfielder, he's a little bit older. He's 28. So they get an everyday player in an outfield position, which is something that they've been looking to add this season. But they also get a right-handed reliever workhorse, sort of pitcher back in Nick Mears. So I'm not sure that they actually lost anything out of the bullpen, but gained an everyday player. That seems like a great move, though, right? To not necessarily have a big subtraction from the something that they actually had, kind of a glut of relief pitchers, and actually returned an everyday player there as well. So that's something they haven't really done much of, right? They usually seem like they lose something to gain something, and this time they made kind of a neutral move and also got something.
Yeah, I guess you could say a lefty reliever is maybe a little more valuable than a righty reliever.
Yeah,
We have to figure out somebody to replace Zerpa to get all those left-handed innings, but there are usually more right-handers and more people are right-handed than left-handed. So I think it's a little harder
yeah,
to find a lefty specialist. But maybe the Chiefs, maybe I mean, not the Chiefs, maybe the Royals like what they have in terms of other bullpen options from the left side, or maybe they'll be able to just find a lefty on the free agent market to replace Zerber, who was pretty good, but not like, not amazing. So getting rid of
yeah,
him in just for another solid right-handed reliever plus a potential starter in the outfield um, yeah, I think it's a positive thing for the Royals. So the Royals they do need some depth, and when it comes to the outfield, probably they also it seems like maybe more than depth, they actually need a really impact hitter in the lineup. But we'll see if that comes. Maybe that comes from within. Maybe Caglione or um, Carter Jensen becomes a solid bat in the lineup
yeah,
here. But yeah, so I like where the Royals are headed on that front. They also picked up couple other miscellaneous parts from free agency, didn't they? This
yeah. What was it Lane Thomas? They got from was it the Cardinals, I think, and Kevin Newman. They picked up from the free agent market. I think he's been around the league, but he's kind of a utility infielder. But yeah, Lane Thomas, I think, is an outfielder. I think also was a free agent, but I think he was with
I know he played for Washington at least somewhat recently.
most recently.
In the Guardians, he played for.
Yeah. So yeah, they've made a few moves. They did sign Maikel Garcia to an extension. So they basically bought out his arbitration years. He was a Super Two player, so he was going to have an extra arbitration year. But rather than negotiate contracts every year for the next 4 years, they decided to go ahead and give him a 5-year contract. I guess is what they ended up doing with an option for I think an additional year. So they expect him to be, playing on that corner infield spot. I assume for the
Mhm.
the coming future, right? He did win a Gold Glove this year, on top of playing a lot
Yes,
better offensively. So it seems like a solid move there to go ahead and lock up that contract. That
yes,
that still makes him more valuable as a trade piece if, you know, something doesn't play out the way they want it to, or they decide to mix things up, or
Mhm.
whatever. It's still just having the contract is better than having arbitration years for another team. It's more stability, I think, for a potentially good player who's still young and showing signs that he is a solid player, potentially an all-star type guy
Yes,
every year.
yes. And back to Lane Thomas a little bit. Yeah, in 2022, Lane Thomas actually had 28 home. In 2023, Lane Thomas actually had 28 home runs and 86 RBIs. Plus, he steals a lot of bases too. He had 32 stolen bases
Mhm.
in 2024. So he's a dual threat with power and speed, at least potentially, more than what the Royals have had in the outfield recently. So Um, but last year he was not so good. Maybe he only played 39 games for Cleveland and he only batted 160. So uh, not so great. But
He
maybe that
is 30, so he's not super young,
Mhm.
but but he has some potential at least. I'm not sure how he's going to fit into this picture. I assume we'll get an idea of where he will be uh, in spring training, but yeah, my hope is that Caglione just takes the job and right, and then you would hope that uh, Collins ends up taking the job and left. I think right, and then go from there.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not. We don't want to come out of spring training with multiple platoon positions on different sides of the outfield and potentially parts of the infield as well, and
Yes.
hope that someone just secures the job and becomes a regular everyday guy for the whole season. It's nice to have depth. It's nice to have the something to fall back on, but you'd much rather have one person excelling rather than
Yeah. Isaac
trying to
Collins
get
was, yeah.
yeah,
He was a 2.1 WAR outfielder last year, so that's better than what usually the Royals have had back there. With
right.
368 on base percentage, and only his second year playing, so that's pretty good.
This does seem to be like, maybe they had some inside information from their new assistant hitting coach who came from the Milwaukee organization just this, a couple of weeks ago. So this may be a guy that he liked a lot, hopefully, has already worked with. So maybe that will help that transition will maybe not be very difficult for Collins to the Royals organization.
Yeah. So yeah, Royals looking up. Still, Chiefs are still playing, so we'll still keep our eye on the Chiefs this season. Even though it seems like more of a Royals type off season that we're
Starting early.
starting
Yeah.
early. But moving on to week 16 now, the NFL, the Chiefs will play at Tennessee. This is a game that the Chiefs would have been very heavily favored to win had Mahomes still been uh, playing. But with Gardner Minshew as the starter, the Chiefs are actually still 3.5 point favorites against the 2-12. Is it 2-12 Titans? Um,
I think so, yeah.
do you like the Chiefs' chances to win in Nashville over the Titans, or do you think the Titans are actually the team to pick? I believe this is one of your locks of the week, Dr. Scaff. You are betting on the Chiefs Titans game. Who do you like, Kansas City or Tennessee?
I do like the Chiefs, Mike, but this is also the Costanza pick. This worked for me last week. In the picks, I will go with that again. So I'm going to take the Titans at plus, was it 3.5? Yeah, plus 3.5. At home, though, this time against Kansas City.
You have Cam Ward, and the number one overall pick this past year, and the Titans, who also might get the number one overall pick next year, depending on how the
Again next
season
year.
turns out for them. But yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be a tough. It's turned into a tough game for the Chiefs. You want to see, I, what do you want to see in this game? Do you want to see how Gardner Minshew could operate maybe as the starter? Especially maybe he'll be the starter early on next season if he's brought back, or do you want to see young guys get some opportunities? See, get Brashard Smith in there, get some of the younger receivers some chances. See how the maybe gets mixed, the young offensive linemen or the get young defensive players to the Chiefs maybe get some more chances, or do you want to just see them win a game without Mahomes?
I'd like to see. Really, I want to see what Minshew does. I don't really know what to expect from him. I think he's a capable player. We've talked about this that he's probably the best backup that the Chiefs have had, and probably since Mahomes was the backup to back
Alex
way
Smith.
back then, right? Alex Smith. So it's been, a series of older quarterbacks that have had some NFL experience, but Minshew's actually been a starter for a couple different places and had success in different cities. So I think he's more than capable. I would like to see how the Chiefs' offense sort of changes, I guess, to accommodate Gardner Minshew, or see how Minshew navigates the offense, or if they make some adjustments. I'm just curious to see what they do. I don't really know what to expect from this. Uh, you know, the only game we saw last year where Mahomes didn't play was that disastrous game against the Broncos in Week 18.
The
That was
Carson
just
Wentz
a
was the
hideous
starter.
game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that was not
So
a very good game at all.
uh, I don't think we're going to see that, but it could happen. But I don't think I think Minshew is a solid enough replacement that we won't see that again. That's you know, but really I just want to see what Minshew does. I don't know. See how he controls the offense and see where it goes from there. Still not expecting a whole lot from this. Obviously, the Mike Costanza-esque pick here for my lock of the week.
Dog of the week. Well, I'm making actual picks that I think maybe are better. I don't know, but it's hard to know anymore. Locks of the week versus unlocks of the week. Um, I decided to go with my first block of the week is a Saturday was one of the Saturday games. Again, we have a Thursday game. We also have two Saturday NFL games going up against the college football playoff, also
Mm,
on Saturday. Uh, Philadelphia at Washington. Washington won last week. Philadelphia's been trying to keep stay ahead in their division, the NFC East. Also, I think Philadelphia's perhaps maybe the most talented team in the NFC, but they've had some less than stellar success this season, but they're still in playoff position and maybe able to muster a deep run in the playoffs, even a Super Bowl victory. I wouldn't be surprising if they could do that. I don't think, but Hurts hasn't been playing particularly well, but I think they'll try to turn it around this week. They're 6.5 point favorites at Washington. Even though Washington won last week, I still think Philadelphia's got the better team and can win by that game by at least a touchdown. So I've gone Philadelphia -6.5 at Washington at the Commanders.
well, Washington's coming off of a win last week, right? In a
Yes,
kind of bizarre game.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's inconsistent from week to week, I think, and
Yeah,
yeah.
they've been one of the worst to try to like predict, I think, based on
Hmm.
like if how they played the week before. Like, oh, they looked pretty good last week. They'll
Hmm.
do well again. No, they were awful the
Hmm.
next week. So that's what happened before. I think I picked them in a couple of games early on, and every time it's been a disaster. And they're trying to infer momentum. Like it has not worked with Washington so far.
No. How about your second lock of the week?
My second pick, I'm going to the Monday night game. I believe it's the Monday night game. The San Francisco Indy game. Uh, I think I'm going to pick against Indy again here. Not a Costanza pick this time, but I've got just San Francisco -5.5 at Indianapolis. I It seems like San Francisco's like rolling right now, which probably is going to jinx the scenario again. So I'm still gonna go with it anyway. My
Going
luck has
against
been
Philip
very
Rivers
bad.
in his home uh not debut, but his home in the season debut. Philip
Yeah,
Rivers, of course, played for the Colts a couple 2021 season, I think was his last year. Nearly
yes,
leading them to the playoffs, but not quite. Um, yeah, so I think that's a good pick. I don't think the Colts without Daniel Jones are a great team. They've also been kind of going downhill the last several weeks since the Chiefs loss, really, has kind of sent them
yeah.
into a tailspin. That was the one Chiefs bright spot the past 5 or 6 weeks, and it kind of has led to a collapse of the Colts, who were as solid, playoff contenders, even the number one seed in the AFC. Now they're out of the playoffs entirely as it stands right now. So
Yeah.
but Rivers played pretty well against Seattle.
Yeah.
in Seattle, so you think maybe they can keep it close against the 49ers, but um, the 49ers need to keep pace to make sure they stay in the playoff hunt too. So it's a big game for them. So
And they have
uh,
such a tough division with the Rams being the number one seed right there,
and this and the
and Seattle sitting in the
Seahawks,
same
yeah.
place, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a solid bet. I would say that probably it was the surprise factor of Rivers coming back. Maybe now that there's more time to prepare for him, he's not going to be quite as effective this week. But who knows?
So yeah,
Uh,
do you think at 44, do you think it's it was more important for him to get 1 week under his belt to like loosen back up, or do you think he will be uh maybe more stiffer because of the age
yeah, it's hard to
part
say if
and
he will be
having
able to
like had
recover.
4 years off basically between his
Yeah,
last game and now. So maybe the newness has worn off and maybe the 44 years old part will be more evident this week. What's your
yeah, I
expectation
don't. It
there?
might take a couple of weeks for that to happen. Maybe it's still new. He hasn't quite. I don't know, but I would guess. Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not. He's a great athlete. He's been in. He's played many NFL seasons before. He's trained, I guess, this off season to be okay in the, in yeah, I would say he's probably hurting more maybe than he thought he would. Probably, I would guess, but whether he can recover from that is it remains to be seen. So, yeah, I don't mind this. I don't mind that San Francisco pick at all.
He was only sacked once last week, which was pretty impressive actually for
So yeah, he wasn't hit too much.
uh,
The Colts do have a very good offensive line, so
yeah, that helps.
that does help. Um, Speaking of inconsistency from week to week. I picked Carolina again as my lock of the week. One of my locks of the week. Carolina against Tampa Bay at home. Carolina is actually 3-point underdogs at home against Tampa Bay. Um, so I think I picked Carolina as +3. I think that's going to be a close game. I think Carolina can actually win that game outright. So I decided to go +3 with take Carolina with the points. Tampa's been up and down. Carolina's been up and down. Nobody seems to really want to win the NFC South. Both of them are 7-7, so they're both tied for the division. Tampa right now has the tiebreaker, but I think Bryce Young has been played pretty well at home. And I think Tampa's and Baker Mayfield has been really kind of on a downward trend the last several weeks. I think he played a little bit. He played a little better maybe last week, but they still lost to the Falcons last week. So on the Thursday night game. So I like Carolina +3 against Tampa, my second lock of the week.
And it is like the winner of this game takes control of the division too, right?
It does. It does.
So Tampa has been sort of the perennial playoff team out of this division, so they probably have the most history, muscle memory probably of going there, right? Too, so that
Yeah.
you would think that that would be in their favor, but
You have Evans back.
yeah,
So, I think maybe they're in a better shape than they were a few weeks ago, but still, yeah,
yeah,
Mayfield, there maybe there's something that's not quite right with him. He might be
yeah.
still playing hurt.
But you're also not betting that either team is particularly going to win this game. You just think Carolina will at least keep it close.
Yeah,
Very,
cover
very
+3.
close.
Yeah.
Very, very close.
If it had been a +3.5, I'd really like it, but
Yeah.
+3 is still pretty good.
You can still win your bet with either team winning the game as long as it's within two.
Within two, yeah. How about your final lock of the week?
So I think the last picks for each of us are going to be in the same game, if I remember correctly.
There are a lot of good games coming up this week. Let me name a few of the good games coming up. See if we've decided to make our picks in any of these games. We have
Especially the early games this
we
week.
have the Rams against the Seahawks on Thursday night. We have Green
Yeah,
Bay against
up and down.
Chicago on Saturday night.
Another great division matchup. No, I don't want anything to do with that.
I think maybe not one of the best. Another matchup I think is the sort of a sexy matchup is the Chargers at Dallas.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We have Jacksonville at Denver, another good matchup between two playoff
Two
teams.
playoff teams, yeah. No,
Pittsburgh and
okay, okay.
Detroit, teams battling for their playoff lives. New England at Baltimore, an old power versus the new younger power. None of those games we're going to be betting on, Dr. Scott.
No, we don't want anything to do with any of those games, right? A lot of ways, it's not great to make bets in those games because they're two good teams facing each other. It could kind of go either way, especially division matchups. Maybe we're just not we're not confident enough in those games going the way that we think they will, right?
Yeah. Oh, I made a
So
division. I made a couple division matchup bets already, but
but these other ones have a lot more like implications at the top, the very, very top.
yeah, none of our games, none of the games so far that I made were with two contenders. There's
Right,
only a maximum. Well, I guess Carolina, Tampa Bay are both technically contenders, but they're contending for one spot. They're not really
right. The
contenders.
same spot, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So no, but
So
no, we're not interested in those games. We're
we are
going to the
interested
dregs.
in the New Orleans New York Jets matchup at home in New Orleans and at the Superdome. New Orleans is 4.5 point underdogs against the Jets. The over under is 40 and a half. Uh, I'll go with this. I'm going to go New Orleans -4.5. I like them to win that game and win it by at least 4.5 points. Win it by a touchdown or more. They did beat Carolina last week. I think they do play better at home. The Jets have been really bad. Even with Tyler Shuck at quarterback, um, I still think um, I think the I think the Saints are the team that's on the winning side there. So I'm going to go Saints -4.5 over the Jets. How about the over under? Do you like it over or under this week?
This is one of those games that there's always one it seems every week that just defies any kind of logic. This seems like this should not be a very high scoring game. It's only 40 and a half points over under, so that the Vegas odds are expecting it to be a relatively low scoring game. This seems like one of those that's going to be a complete shootout. Like I expect this to be a very high scoring game. So I'm taking the over in this one.
Ooh, the
So I'm
over.
going. I'm going. My three picks are, well, one is a Costanza, one is a real pick, and one is a defies logic pick. So this is kind of what I did last week. We go with it again. I got 2 or 3 last week. I need a few more wins, Mike. I gotta get closer to 500 here. I'm just trying to catch. I need to catch you, I guess. Also,
It's
so
me. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Uh,
yeah.
we talked about those other games. I don't know how either of us feel. Those other games are all good games, but yeah, we aren't making our bets on any of the good matchups. But it's uh
As locks, we'll be making picks on all of the games. However,
yes, we have picks. We'll make picks
on
on
the
all the
big board.
games. No locks of the week in those good matchups. The following week also has some good matchups coming up. So we'll be previewing week 17 next week after we recap week 16. Is there anything else we want to talk about, Dr. Scott, before we wrap up this week's episode of the One Track Power Hour?
I don't.
A solemn episode, I think, to say the least, with the way the Chiefs' season has ended and the way Patrick Mahomes' season has come to an end. One of the this will be the first Power Hour that we've done where the Chiefs are not playoff contenders and are not Super Bowl contenders. So we'll see how
Right.
it'll be a unique experience going forward. Uh,
Less homerism in the in our picks from here out this season.
so far,
Yeah.
going forward, I think, yeah. Um,
Right.
so we'll have all of you guys. Thank you for your listenership and your viewership, and we'll continue to talk. We'll continue to talk a lot about the Chiefs every week going forward, but they aren't going to be in the playoffs, so it's going to be a different kind of conversation. I think we'll have next week about Gardner Minshew and the rest of the Chiefs in their game against Tennessee. But we have all that to look forward to next week. The Chiefs also the week after will play a Christmas Day game. I guess a Christmas night game, Christmas Day night game,
The
uh,
day of
day
Christmas.
of Christmas against the Denver Broncos, which would have been a huge game had the Chiefs still been in playoff contention and Mahomes still been healthy.
Yeah.
I think I saw Amazon, it was going to be on Amazon Prime. It's the Chiefs' only Amazon Prime game this year. Um, I think Amazon is going to lose 20 to 30 million viewers perhaps without Mahomes in action and without the Chiefs maybe being playoff contenders. So that's a big loss for Amazon. Um, and it's one of those things where you think the Chief or the league is rigged toward the Chiefs. Obviously, that has not happened this year. Although Dr. Scaff, I think he still has his opinions on how the league operates and its inconsistencies. Um, but we'll talk about that another week. We'll let it
Oh,
bubble to the surface a little bit more each and every week.
it's a good
Um,
thing we don't record our pre-show
yes.
conversations because it was just swearing constantly for I think 15 minutes straight.
Yes, that was something to listen to, Dr. Scaff. Um, but we don't. Maybe we'll have a preview of that next week, depending on what happens. This week, uh, we have a lot of great things in store coming up. We also maybe we'll have more off-topic discussions because the Chiefs are no longer in it. We might be discussing more TV and movies and things like that going forward. Andrew, anything you're watching right now, or anything that you're looking forward to in terms of media coming up?
One show I just caught the first episode of. I think you might actually like. Well, you probably would like anyway. But it's a Rowan Atkinson show on Man versus Baby that just started.
Hmm. I did
It's
see
just
Man versus Bee. Have you seen Man versus Bee?
I didn't see Man versus Bee, but he's doing a new one now, Man versus Baby.
Marie and I really liked Man versus Bee. My daughter,
Yeah,
she also likes uh, Mr. Bean, so she liked Man versus
yeah,
Bee, which
nice.
was pretty funny. But Man versus Baby, I should is on. I think Netflix. Is that Netflix or is that?
I'm not sure which service it was on.
I think Man vs. Bee was Netflix when I saw it, but Man vs. Baby might be different.
I have
Um,
access to too many streaming services, Mike. I don't know. I don't know which one I was on anymore.
Man vs. Baby is
Netflix. You're
Netflix.
correct. I think it's in the same. It must be like the same
It's the same
studio.
guy. It's the same guy. He reprises his role as a follow-up to Man vs. Bee. Um, yeah, Maria and I will have to watch Man vs. Baby
There you go. Now you have
soon.
something else to watch here in the next couple weeks. Yeah, it just the first episode just came out. I think
And there's only
for one
four.
of
Are there
the
only four
one of,
episodes?
yeah, it's only 4 episodes. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know if they were. I'm not sure if they released the whole thing or I just got the first
Usually
episode.
Netflix does it all at once, but
Usually it is all at once.
they did Stranger Things. I guess they also that's they're releasing that in segments now though.
Like
It's gonna
three
be like a
shots. Yeah,
movie and stuff. I haven't watched the most recent Stranger Things. They're too old now. I think the kids in Stranger Things they're
yeah.
25 years old it seems like, and they're still
Well, I
in
think probably
baby.
old enough to be the parents of the kids'
Yeah.
age when they started the show. Yeah,
Yes, they're all grizzled and
yeah.
wizened over the years.
I
But
just caught up on it. I'm current on Stranger Things now, so
oh, you are?
yeah. It was only like 4 new episodes that
I
get
haven't
released.
watched those. I might check them out. But
I think there's like three more on Christmas, and then the final episode's on New Year's. I think so they're doing it.
okay.
It's like three chunks. Yeah,
There's a theatrical thing too. I think they're gonna do. Maybe they'll also release it on.
I think all the episodes are just longer than typical single shows. I didn't think there was supposed to be any more. I think they just talked about each one of the 4 new episodes that were to come out were in theory going to be like 2 hour episodes, but they are not. Maybe that's what they meant by that.
Maybe that's what they meant.
Yeah.
But
That was the last thing I had heard that they somebody had there were rumors that each of the episodes that were released were going to be like the of like theatrical length.
mm, mm,
But I don't but they weren't though. They were longer than normal episodes, but not like super long.
yes.
It wasn't like Game of Thrones where every episode was like 2 hours long for a while there. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, um, why don't we wrap up this week's episode of the Power Hour? As always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Warren Track Power Hour. Please like and subscribe to our program by liking or subscribing to the YouTube broadcast, available on YouTube, the YouTube channel of Warren Track Power Hour, or our podcast, available on many different podcast delivery platforms, including the one that you're using right now if you're listening to a podcast. We are available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, many some of the other big ones as well. Uh, we're well uh, we're well represented and easy to find. So we would appreciate your viewership or your listenership, whichever you might be doing right now. And we'll be back next week with another exciting episode of the One Trick Power Hour, previewing week 17 of the NFL, reviewing week 16 of the NFL, the post Patrick Mahomes era, the 2025 regular season. We'll get closer, inching closer to the NFL playoffs. We'll also talk more about the college football playoffs and maybe more about the Royals or other sports news that strikes our that is comes across our radar, and we'll also be discussing maybe some more TV shows, movies, things like that, whichever whatever tickles our fancy uh, this particular week. So we might, like I said, we might be doing a little bit more of that since the Chiefs are out of playoff contention now. Officially, they've been eliminated with their loss to the Chargers this past weekend. So, a solemn day here at the Power Hour, but we'll soldier on and move forward. And we wish you the best of luck this week if you're making bets, as long as your interest is not going to conflict with ours. But even so, we're not we at this point in the season we have grown weary and defeated in terms of our betting strategies. We don't know what we're doing anymore. So this NFL season has been really hard on us in more ways than one. Hopefully, it's been better. If you've been just picking the opposite of us, you've been doing quite well this year. But
You'd be in the black.
you'd be well into the black. But um,
Sadly.
sadly,
Us. Not for them, I guess.
not for you guys. So, but at any rate, we wish you the best this weekend, and we will be back next week with another exciting episode, as stated earlier. So, from us at the One Track Power Hour, we wish you a good day.